Mastering how to prevent workplace injuries through training. Industry-specific injuries are looming, and only targeted training can salvage your company's safety record. Where can we find the most prevalent types of workplace injuries that are commonly experienced by employees in our industry, and what specific training programs can we implement to mitigate these risks and foster a culture of operational excellence? To prevent workplace injuries and foster a culture of operational excellence, it is essential to identify the most prevalent types of workplace injuries that are commonly experienced by employees in our industry and implement specific training programs to mitigate these risks. Hazard identification and risk assessment. The first step is to conduct a thorough hazard identification and risk assessment to identify the most common types of workplace injuries in our industry. This can be achieved by reviewing incident reports, conducting workplace observations, and consulting with employees, supervisors, and safety professionals. This process will help to identify the most common hazards and risk factors that contribute to workplace injuries, such as slips, trips, and falls due to wet floors, uneven surfaces, and poor housekeeping. Strains and sprains due to manual handling, heavy lifting, and bending. Cuts and lacerations due to sharp objects, machinery, and tools. Chemical exposure due to improper handling, storage, and disposal of hazardous substances. Electrical shock due to faulty wiring, equipment, and improper lockout/tagout procedures. Training programs to mitigate risks. Once the most common hazards and risk factors have been identified, specific training programs can be developed and implemented to mitigate these risks. These training programs should be designed to educate employees on the hazards associated with their specific job tasks, the safety measures in place to prevent injuries, and the procedures to follow in the event of an emergency. 1. Slips, trips, and falls prevention training. Employees should be trained on the importance of maintaining a clean and tidy workspace, reporting spills and hazards, and using personal protective equipment, PPE, such as non-slip shoes and gloves. Supervisors should be trained on conducting regular safety inspections, identifying potential hazards, and implementing corrective actions. Employees should be trained on proper lifting techniques, using mechanical aids, and seeking assistance when lifting heavy objects. 2. Manual handling and ergonomics training. Employees should be trained on proper lifting techniques, bending, and twisting to prevent strains and sprains. Supervisors should be trained on conducting ergonomic assessments, identifying high-risk tasks, and implementing ergonomic changes to reduce the risk of injury. Employees should be trained on using mechanical aids, such as pulleys and levers, to reduce manual handling risks. 3. Chemical exposure prevention training. Employees should be trained on the safe handling, storage, and disposal of hazardous substances, including proper labeling, segregation, and ventilation. Supervisors should be trained on conducting risk assessments, identifying high-risk tasks, and implementing control measures to reduce exposure. Employees should be trained on using personal protective equipment, PPE, such as gloves, goggles, and respirators. 4. Electrical safety training. Employees should be trained on the safe use of electrical equipment, including proper cord management, avoiding overloading, and following lockout/tagout procedures. Supervisors should be trained on conducting electrical safety audits, identifying high-risk tasks, and implementing corrective actions. Employees should be trained on responding to electrical emergencies, including calling emergency services and providing first aid. 5. Emergency response training. Employees should be trained on responding to emergency situations, including evacuation procedures, first aid, and calling emergency services. Supervisors should be trained on conducting emergency response drills, identifying high-risk scenarios, and implementing corrective actions. Employees should be trained on using fire extinguishers, responding to chemical spills, and providing basic first aid. Implementation and evaluation of training programs. To ensure the effectiveness of these training programs, it is essential to implement and evaluate them regularly. This can be achieved by conducting regular safety training sessions for new and existing employees, providing refresher training for employees who require it, conducting regular safety audits and inspections to identify areas for improvement, evaluating the effectiveness of training programs through incident reports, safety metrics, and employee feedback, updating and revising training programs based on lessons learned from incident investigations and safety audits. Culture of operational excellence. To foster a culture of operational excellence, it is essential to encourage employee participation, empowerment, and accountability. This can be achieved by encouraging employees to report hazards, near misses, and incidents, empowering employees to take ownership of their safety and the safety of their colleagues, holding employees and supervisors accountable for following safety procedures and reporting hazards, recognizing and rewarding employees for their safety contributions and achievements, celebrating safety milestones and achievements company-wide. By implementing these training programs, conducting regular evaluations, and fostering a culture of operational excellence, our organization can significantly reduce the risk of workplace injuries, improve employee engagement, and enhance our overall operational performance.